You may have heard a lot of talk about king tides, but what are they exactly? Well, in this Virtually Rick, we're going to take a dip into what they are and what they do. So, if you're ready, take a deep breath and come with me. Let's get virtual. Right then, first up, tides. And it never ceases to amaze me how they actually work. So, here we go. You've got the Earth and you've got the Moon. And the Moon may look fairly docile, but actually it's very powerful. The Moon, like the Earth, has a gravitational pull. Anything that weighs something has mass, has pulling power, has gravity. So the bigger the mass, the bigger the pull. Now, it doesn't look big, but the Moon really is roughly a quarter the size of the Earth. And the reason we don't fly off the Earth's surface, of course, is the gravitational pull of the Earth. If it was too strong, actually, we'd probably end up being a bit squished, but luckily we're not. Now, the Moon also has its own gravity, and it's the driving force of the tides. The Sun helps too, but let's bring that to the party later. So the Moon's force pulls the oceans upwards. Now, let's take a look at what that potentially looks like. I mean, obviously it doesn't happen like this, but I'm just showing you for simplification, because the Moon is pulling the ocean upwards, creating high tides in the areas which face the Moon and low tides in the areas that don't. And of course you have land in the way, so that impacts where the water can flow. And this happens twice a day. So what then is a king tide? Well, it's something that happens only a few times a year when something celestial goes down, when the Earth, the Sun and the Moon align. The perfect example being the super blood wolf moon, which was a rare lunar eclipse, blocking direct sunlight and making it pass through the Earth's atmosphere to create dramatic lighting on the Moon. So, when there's an alignment of all three here, the Moon is closest to the Earth, it's called the perigee, and the Earth is closest to the Sun, and it's called the perihelion. And when this happens, this alignment is basically like a giant gravitational tractor beam. And obviously I'm exaggerating it here, but it creates this mega tide, perhaps called a king tide because it's a royal pain. And if king tides happen during storms or floods, well, they can be just that. According to NOAA, the government's National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, nearly 200,000 Californians are at risk in low-lying coastal areas lower than 1 foot below sea level. And there are 873 miles of coastal roads that are vulnerable to storms, surges, and king tides. Look what happens if, in the future, the sea level rises by a few feet incrementally. It could potentially hit our coastal regions hard. As NOAA reports, coastal tourism accounts for 39% of California's $17.6 billion coastal economy. Floods could interfere with transport jobs, accounting for $662 billion in wages. Ugh. The king tides will serve as future echoes to ready us for the rough seas ahead. If these royal tides are anything to go by, it's going to be anything but smooth sailing, because if sea levels continue to rise, we might very well be in over our head.